Hey guys, T7 here, on video today. I haven't made a video in about just under a week now, and that's due to the fact that I haven't had a chance to make a video. And then when I did get a chance to over the last couple of days, I've come down with a bit of a cold, so I can't. It's been dragging me down a lot, so I haven't had the motivation to make a video. Anyway, today's video is going to be talking about the concept in the game called playing around cards. Now, you can when I first heard the term playing around cards, I thought it meant basically that you attack directly. Like, your opponent has monsters on the field and you literally, like, in your mind, visually play around the card, as in you attack your opponent directly without having to attack monsters. However, as you get into the competitive scene, being able to play around cards is actually a very important concept to understand, and being able to apply it when you're deck building and when you're actually in the middle of a game, being able to know, oh yeah, how to play around this and this card, essentially is what you need to do if you want to win on a consistent basis. What I do notice is that some players build a deck, they kind of just build it and then it's like, oh, the deck is done. They bring it into a game and then they end up playing against the deck they've never played before, or they played it against it, they know what it is, but they don't know how it plays. And then they end up losing, not because their deck is bad, but because the deck that they lost to has a win condition or a kind of a combo of plays that you don't understand. And it's like, oh yeah, I don't know how to beat this deck, right? So then you realize, you think, yeah, oh, my deck sucks, so therefore I might as well just stop playing because it lost. But actually, what you need to do is, this is one of the things, the best players in this game, they need to be able to, whenever a new set comes out, they basically need to research all the cards that's going to come out, understand the rulings, the problem-solving card text, and understand how it works, how it resolves, you know, if it misses timing with anything. Keep up to date. It's one of the few concepts in the game where you're forced to keep up to date with cards. If you want to be good at the game, you know, when a new deck comes around, if you know how to play it, if you know how to beat the deck, then you can win tournaments, you can do whatever, you know. People will say you're a good player because you've actually thought things through and you understand how cards work. Now, playing around cards essentially is like reading your opponent's cards, if they have it in their hand or if they've searched it, so you know it's in their hand, so you know to play around it, and through a series of plays which would indicate that it's there. So, for instance, if they have 6 cards in hand, they start their turn, and they end their turn with nothing, they don't set, they don't do anything, then there's always that possibility of a Gauze. If you have the resources to take down a Gauze, you obviously are going to summon and then attack, and then you're going to do whatever you need to do to kill the Gauze. So that's okay. But if you can't handle a 2700 beater right now, then don't attack. It's as simple as that. That is in itself, the whole thing is playing around Gauze, okay? Because Gauze is a very important card to have to deal with. Even something like having multiple monsters and then attacking with the weakest first, meaning that your opponent drops a Gauze and then the token you can run over it because it's not as strong as your most strongest monster. So you can attack over the token because you think, oh yeah, I can handle a Gauze on its own, but I can't handle a Gauze and the token, because then they can double tribute it for a 2 tribute monster. They can, you know, synchro into a Stardust and a Gauze, which is kind of a bit of a field actually. Being able to play around Gauze in that sense is something that all players should know how to do. It's not essentially just competitive play, it's always having that thought of Gauze. Ever since it's come out, it's changed the way that you play the game now. Some other cards in the game, I'm going to pick one out because it's relevant to the meta right now, is Vanity's Emptiness. Vanity's Emptiness has an inbuilt way for your opponent to kill it, okay? It's got, if a card is sent from the field to the graveyard, it's destroyed. So you basically have to MST a different card, okay? Don't MST Vanity's Emptiness itself, there is no point, you know? So if your opponent activates a Dragon Roller effect and you flip out Vanity's Emptiness, then you will negate the summon. You won't not negate the summon, but you'll prevent the monster from being summoned. They banish for no reason, they won't get to summon, and if they haven't gone out to Vanity's Emptiness, then you got yourself a nice little lock there, and you can actually win the game just through doing stuff alone. So Vanity's Emptiness is an easy card to play around, but at the right time you can spring it on your opponent and then they lose because they don't understand how to beat it, or they haven't got they think, oh yeah, should I really activate this Dragon Roller because they're going to flip Vanity's Emptiness and I'm going to lose. So you're going to neg yourself in the process, you're going to banish your cards, and you're not going to get anything out of it if you banish something that isn't a Dragon Ruler. So you'll realise that they will spring on Vanity's Emptiness, and then it's going to be like, oh shit, I can't actually get rid of it, I can't do anything, so I have to scoop. So there is a way to play around it. Maybe you could have hold out your blaster in your hand, wait until you draw another one, wait until you draw Trigon, you know, another fire type, so you can pitch it to kill the Vanity's Emptiness that's set. So if your opponent's got loads of back row, don't always assume that you can just plow through it with loads of resources and try to simplify the game state. Another one is something relevant like Light Pulsar Dragon. It's not really as relevant as it used to be, but I feel it's a perfect example of something, a card that needs, it's like the most crucial part of the entire deck. Chaos Dragons is nothing without Light Pulsar. Once it came out, suddenly the deck became something. Even Eclipse Wyvern as well. Those two cards actually made the deck what it is. And Light Pulsar Dragon is, the way that it's designed, the Konami knows that there is level 5 or higher dark types to summon with this card. There's Dark Flare, Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon, and I think there's a few other ones like Dark Storm Dragon, I think Tyrant Dragon or something like that. So there's a lot of cards to summon with Light Pulsar, okay? And Light Pulsar is basically, when it dies, it's going to summon one of these things from the graveyard. So you set up your plays in a way so that you have the Red MD in the graveyard to summon. So if your opponent has Light Pulsar on the field and they have Red MD in the grave, they're not really they're gonna play in a way so that they don't give a shit if Light Pulsar dies, because Red MD is gonna come back and it's bigger. So if you attack over it and like Red MD is bigger, then Red MD is going to come onto the field, bring back the Light Pulsar, so that means that they're essentially soft locking you. Playing around Light Pulsar could be simple in a sense like, don't attack for one, don't kill it, because you're just going to end up putting yourself in a worse position than you were before. Something like D-Prison, something like Abyss Dweller, Dark Hole, you know, even though it negs yourself, at least you don't have to worry about Light Pulsar anymore, because they'll have to discard cards out of their hand to actually summon it. Playing around cards is, on casual level, it's not as important because you can essentially play against any deck and you don't know how to beat it, because I know you've never played this deck before. Like, you play against Amazonas and then you lose to them. You can't say you're a bad player if you lose to Amazonas because it's just a random casual deck. But if you're playing in a competitive sense, then making sure that you know how to play around certain cards is basically how you're going to get yourself with your deck. You know, it's like practicing with your deck over weeks, you know, even months. Preparing for YCS is what I'm doing. I'm preparing for London right now, and understanding how my deck, the combos that it can do to get around relevant cards in the meta, is essentially what makes this game worth playing at the moment. It's what happens when there's a diverse format. Understanding every single deck and how it plays is a long process, and it's very, very boring if you don't like to read and don't like to watch DN matches. But when you finally get to that point when you start to actually make everything make sense, you understand how to beat every deck, then you become a pro, okay? You become a pro, you can play around cards, and you can, if you can keep advantage while you're playing around cards as well, then your deck is obviously great, okay? So that is it. Comment down below cards in the meta, or cards that you actually that you play against often, that requires you to have to think and play around them. You know, whether it could be Light Pulsar, it could be Archlord Christia, it could be Dracasac, it could be Vanity's Emptiness, it could be something even really out of the way like White Knight Dragon or something like that. You know, even just Maiden with Eyes of Blue. Any of those cards, a card that you personally feel like it's an important card to know how to play around, because there's a lot of cards in this game and it's what makes the game worth playing, you know. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope I can make another video soon. I might do some more videos where I'm recording my screen, so I can do like deck lists and stuff like that. Maybe if I get hold of regional deck lists, I could try and do that as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed watching, and until next time, the Thetcglover is out.